I have such a treat in store for you today with this week's guest episode. I'm chatting with Leonie Dawson. If you've heard of Leonie, Leonie is an entrepreneur that runs a membership, and she is letting us know some of the really key things to running a membership and how she's done so successfully, because she's had over 5,000 people in her membership, which is absolutely wild. She's made like $12 million, and she's going to share with us some of the key things that she's done to create that success. And she's also going to share with us some of the really particular boundaries she has in place in her business to make sure that she doesn't get burnt out and that she actually loves what she does. If you don't know Leonie Dawson, she is an international best-selling author of the 2024 My Brilliant Year workbooks, which were formerly known as the Goal Getter workbooks, which have been used by over 500,000 people worldwide. She is a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and she has generated over $14 million in revenue while only working 10 hours a week. I told you we're going to get into some stuff about how she does her boundaries. Leonie has been recognized for her business acumen by winning Ausmumpreneur's People's Choice Business Coach, Global Brand, and Businesses Making a Difference awards. Leonie has spent the last 10 years living in some of the most beautiful places around Australia, and she currently lives with her 2 daughters and husband on the Sunshine Coast. I cannot wait for you to hear this episode with Leonie. Let's dive in. All right, welcome Leonie to the podcast. Thank you so very much for joining me.
Oh, Jacqui, it's a joy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm very, very excited for our conversation. I won't give too much away just yet, but I want to ask you the question that I ask all of my guests when they jump on, and that is, what does an average day in your life and business look like? Because I feel like as businesses, we never get a proper behind the scenes look and actually think, oh, actually, they're a normal human too, running life and trying to do everything as well as run a business. So I'd love to know, what does your life look like behind the scenes?
Sure. For me, I usually work about 10 hours a week. That's just always the way that I've managed to, when I was working like full-time hours for the Australian government when I first started my business. And then I didn't leave that job until I was pregnant with my eldest daughter. And then I was just like full into parenting mode, and I really wanted to be as present as I could with the kids. So the business is kind of like has a little corner in my life, but it doesn't take up most of my day. For me, I wake up around 7 o'clock, just help the kids get ready for school. And then my husband and I both drop them to school. Then we go do some errands. We go for a walk together. So we just walked along Coolum Beach this morning, and we watched
Doing
people.
that together every morning. I love that.
It's beautiful just to have that connection time together. And we watched these people go for a wild swim. Like they swam like a kilometer. I can't believe it. Like out in the ocean in all the waves. And I'm like, really? Whoa. I love people living their best life. It's just brilliant.
That's so
Uh,
impressive.
yeah, I know, right? I know. And then went to the library, went and got some morning tea, and then we usually hang out. We usually play some Mario Kart for a while and talk and think about like what we want to do next goals, all that kind of stuff. And then from about 12 to 2, I pop into my office and I do some work then. And then after that, we go and do school run together and pick up the girls. And then we spend the rest of the afternoon with them. I'll cook dinner around 5-ish. We like to have early dinner. And then we just like vegetate together and watch random YouTube videos as a family and whatever else happens. So that's kind of a random day for us.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, I always find it so inspiring hearing what people's lives are like, because I'm like, actually, I could sneak that little bit, or maybe I could not work at that particular time as well in my day. And because I'm in a very different season, but I've got a 4-month-old and a 3-year-old, and it's hectic. And so I'm not working a lot of the time, but I am working a lot of the time as well in any spare pockets that I get, because it's that kind of season. But yeah, it's wild. I love hearing some of these things. I love how much time you spend with your husband. My husband also works from home, so I feel like we can like take a few of those things at some point when I get my act together and tighten things up a little bit.
That's beautiful.
Amazing. So I want to pick your brain around memberships. I have never run a membership. I think I've thought about it so many times, but it's always been like, nah, too much work, can't make this actually work for my business. But I would love to know, like, you've got a very, 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 very successful membership, I would say. Would you like to firstly share a little bit about what that is, just so we can get a bit of an idea of the context around what you're going to be sharing about? And then tell it, like, why do you love the membership model? Why do you love doing business that way?
So I have been doing a membership on and off since 2010. And It was the same membership. I ran it for 9 years, and basically it was like all of my courses and books and offerings and resources and wrapped up into one membership, and you can get it for a really affordable price. And then I took a hiatus from it for a few years and then brought it back. And so our new incarnation of the Brilliant Biz and Life Academy has about 5,000 members, which is really cool. We've probably brought in maybe 11, $12 million in through that kind of membership model, which is super cool. And I really enjoy just being able to create and whatever I feel like creating next, and being able to just give it to people without always having to do like a full launch process. My zone of genius is definitely in creating. I love making new stuff. So it doesn't feel like too much work for me. Like it definitely is intensive. So we have a new workshop that goes out every single month, but that's not like a requirement of memberships at all. It's just something that I thought would be fun to do. And we have a new template or resource that goes out. We have about 100 programs in the academy, including guest experts, which is pretty fun. So I think membership works really well if it's your personality type and it plays into your strengths. And yeah, I'm a massive fan. I love it. Absolutely love it.
That's so cool. And you've obviously worked out how to make it work and how to, I think the other thing that scares me is the volume of people you need to be able to earn a really great income from it, if that makes sense. Like you've obviously got 5,000 people in there, and that number makes me think, oh, I can never get that kind of number. So
Mhm.
obviously you've got a really great way to promote that. How do you promote that to make sure you can get that, like, people inside your membership?
Well, I think part of it is like it is a pricing thing. So you don't need 5,000 people in your membership. I only started out with like 100 people for my membership. It's really about, what price point you're going to sell at. So my price point currently is $199 a year for the membership, and you get just everything that I give away. It's over $10,000 of programs. And like that price point will probably have to go up because it still doesn't necessarily really make sense considering like I sell other programs for the same price as my academy that's included in the academy. Um, but you don't need to have that huge membership base. It's just that I historically have always enjoyed having lower price and more people in it. You can have memberships with way less people in it, and for it still to be, beautiful and sustainable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what do you how so what have been your favorite ways to promote it, to get new people to join it? Is it, I feel like at 5,000 people you have a lot of word of mouth as well, but I'm sure you've been very strategic in the way that you've grown that as well over the years. What have been your favorite, I guess, marketing methods?
For me, I mean, launches are still a very big part of the marketing puzzle. If I just left it open year round without any incentives to sign up by a certain date, people wouldn't sign up because people always put off those buying decisions. So a launch where we have like historically done ones where you can only get the Academy membership during that launch period. And I have longer launch periods, so they usually go for about 3 weeks or a month or so because I just don't have the capacity just to do a 5-day cart open like some people can do. Like it feels like an enormous amount of pressure for me at this stage. So I like to have longer cart opens. So people could either buy only get the academy during that period, or we have like live round promotions. So we've got heaps of different programs in the academy, and I'll do a live round of one of those courses in the academy. So for example, 40 days to create and sell your e-course. I'll do a live round of that and be like, okay, everyone sign up by this date, and really market heavily to my mailing list. And that's been the principal way we get sales. Another thing is, we definitely have word of mouth, and that's through our affiliate program most of all. So I actually pay people to talk about me. And I found that more effective than Facebook ads. I find it more effective because one, you're not paying them unless somebody actually buys. We give 50% recurring of membership fees. So people have like, I think we've sent out nearly $800,000 in affiliate commissions, which is really fun. And I prefer doing that than like just paying for Facebook ads because like it's going to
there's a whole set of good reasons. Like you're paying real people instead of Meta, and then you're also, it's probably a similar, I'm assuming you find it as a similar return on investment to be putting money towards there than as ads.
Yeah, for sure. And we'd still like experiment a little bit with Facebook ads, but it's definitely not been a core driver of our business at all, just because I have zero interest in it really. So yeah. So I think those are kind of like some of the big ways that we bring through membership members for it.
Yeah, I love that one of they're doing like the live aspect of one of your programs in it at that time. I think that's such a clever idea. And I guess you'd get different kinds of people and business owners in at different times through different promotions, but they all can still be served in that same membership because of the huge plethora of, I guess, the library you have there.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to know, like obviously you're doing a live kind of training, I think you said every month. Is it hard to know what to kind of share there to make sure that everyone's getting helped, or you kind of just focus on a topic and think people will get helped or it won't be their jam?
So we have monthly workshops and they are on a topic. And so we poll our members about what they'd like to see next if we don't have a training on a specific topic. So we create new courses just around that. So the workshop will be totally on that topic. And then once a month, we also have open office hours where people can just ask me anything. So that ends up working out really well for just the rando questions.
Yeah, like people can still get those random questions answered that no one in the poll really cares about, but they obviously care about as their little human question. Cool, that makes sense. Okay, and so do you have any big challenges? Like what's the hardest part about running a membership for you at the moment?
For me, I would say it's trickier to really clearly communicate exactly what you get in it, just because we have over 100 programs in it now. So, it's hard enough to effectively market and communicate one program. And then when you've got 100 in it. So people are like, whoa, that's a lot. I think a second issue that comes up is because it is so cheap. People are like, oh, why is it so cheap? Because each of those programs is comparable to like a $2,000 program that they get elsewhere, and yet they're getting 100 and it's only $199 a year. It just doesn't make sense to them. So I have to explain a lot about like the business model of like, we're just kind of like, I'm trying to make it like Netflix for entrepreneurs, really just giving you the menu of options. And then I think the other issue is making sure that people don't get overwhelmed in it and just know that they don't have to do all the things, just do the things that are important to their business at that point.
And so how do you help people with that to guess not get overwhelmed by the 100 different courses and to actually do something rather than just being like, I bought the membership, then I didn't do it.
So we have a running list of things that we're implementing to make that happen. So firstly, we always get people to start with the Make Your Money Back Challenge, which is a process that takes about an hour, and it helps them earn back their academy membership and more, and usually saves people thousands of dollars a year just by doing the Make Your Money Back Challenge. So that one's a really great one just to get people to start with, because then they know that their membership is just free. If they can have done that, and that's like a massive bonus.
Yeah.
We also have course plans for people depending on whether they're thinking about starting a business, growing their business, want to do like a deep dive into creativity or meditation or money or all those different topics, and we'll give them a course plan for that. And we also have, as part of our onboarding process, we've now created where people can fill out a little 2-minute questionnaire about the topics they need to learn in their business, what they're struggling with. And my assistants will create them a little get started course plan, like absolutely custom coded. It's not like AI or anything. It's like my assistant literally looking at the questionnaire and going, oh, this would be helpful for them, and emailing them back. And people really love that, just as like just going, start at this one, and then when you've finished, email me back and we will decide on the next one for you. So just to help people's overwhelm.
I just wanted to interrupt for a moment to say that if you're enjoying this episode, I would love to invite you to my free 3-part video training to help you to create your own stunning visual brand, helping you to grow your business faster and to feel and look $1 million. If you're ready for the best year of business yet, then join over 1,000 business owners who have already taken part in the challenge to get started on creating your own brand. Join us today at whitedeer.com/Naunton theanimaldeer.com.au/challenge. That's the colour white, theanimaldeer.com.au/challenge. Cannot wait to see you there. Let's get back to the episode. That's a really great idea. I'm thinking of doing something similar for a program I'm about to start, because I feel like people can, they've got all this great goodness there, but how are they actually going to take advantage of that? So I think that's a really beautiful thing to implement on a membership that obviously you don't have to do, but if people join your membership and then they do it and they get success from it, they're far more likely to be raving fans of yours rather than just like, oh, I bought Leonie's membership, but I didn't get time to do it. So it was fine.
Exactly.
You don't want that.
Exactly. And it also just makes me super sad if people don't do the thing. It's like the whole, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I'm like, please, I've made the most beautiful river for you to drink from. Like, I have everything for you, my friends. Please use it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can see your struggle with, if like there's so much goodness in there, how do you promote that? Like people usually say like niche down, and while you have niche to business owners, there's like everything is inside that. So I can see that difficulty in there.
So on one level, it's like completely amazing and like the biggest no-brainer that anybody could like make to invest in their business. And then on another level, it's just a different marketing challenge. So there's always marketing challenges inherent to any offer. So that's just the one that I have.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing all of that. If someone was thinking about starting a membership, like, do you have any like quick fire tips that you might share with them to make sure they do it right, do it well?
One is to just have very clear boundaries about what you will do and what you won't do, and how students are to interact with you, how students are to ask you questions, and how to interact with each other as well. So I'm kind of known for having very drama-free internet spaces because I really set those boundaries very clearly from the get-go. And I say, like, if you are abusive to my assistant, if you're abusive to any other person in here, like you're gone. Like it's non-negotiable for me. Like we can treat each other with respect. Another thing is I think people tend to over deliver, especially if you are a woman or assigned female at birth. We tend to over give to the point that it makes you nuts. So I really don't recommend telling people, oh, just email in any questions and I'll answer them, no problems. Like that is the worst job you could potentially give yourself. And instead batch it. So that's why I run my open office hours every single month. It's 1 hour a month and I can answer questions from anybody who has them. And it means that people can still get direct feedback from me, but it's completely batched. It's 1 hour of my time once a month. So that's like a very genius like way for me to not go nuts while still serving 5,000 members.
Yeah.
One thing as well, I should just say as well, if somebody asks me if I keep getting the same question asked, I usually just create a workshop around it because I'm sick of talking about the same thing. So I'll just put it in the academy.
Just head to that workshop, buddy. That's the answer. As someone myself who was wanting to grow a program in a similar way, where I have a call regularly with people, but it gets that support done. How are people giving? 5,000 people is a lot. Obviously, they're not all coming to the call. Obviously, you've got it capped at an hour. So are people submitting questions beforehand? Are people just going out live? Like, have you got that work so people actually get support, but you don't have to give too much support?
Yeah. So the thing that I've always noticed is that even though I've got 5,000 members, it's amazing if I can even get 100 people on a call. Like most people are not going to show up for live stuff, and that's okay. Like we're all busy. It's going to be recorded, and they should be able to find all the answers to their questions in the academy anyway. This is just a backstop. I always take precedence, like the people who show up live, I'm always going to answer their questions first. People can email in their questions, but I only answer them if I have enough time. Otherwise, they just get pushed to another month. So if people want me to prioritize like them, then they need to prioritize actually turning up to a call with me, and that works.
That's cool. Another question for you. Do you mainly service Australians or like all over the world? And if so, how do you manage time zones?
So I am majority American based. That's just it seems to be the way that's always been in my business. So majority American and then 25% Australian, 20% European. So the majority is the USA and North America, Canada. So in terms of time zones, because I only do the live calls, so there's one group call and one live workshop, and so I tend to do those at 6:30 in the morning, just because what works for me. So it hits our European market, it hits our US market, and it hits almost the Australian market. It's the early bird Australian market. So I really just prioritize the countries that make up the biggest area. I
Mm.
could run it like later, like 7:30, 8:30. It's just that I like to help my kids get ready for school and drop them to school and stuff like that. So I
Mm.
could definitely run it later than that. But then it would start pushing out the Europeans because they're already staying up later to do it. So that just ends up being the sweet spot for me. But I have some friends who run like dual time slots for for to try and hit most of
Yeah.
the market.
Cool. Great. That's what I'm thinking of doing. But I love that you've got, yeah, because it's hard to find a time that works for Europeans and the US. I find it's like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. It's nuts. And then if you can hit those two time slots, you're not going to get Western Australia in. Like
No,
they're going to
of
have to be
course,
up.
in Australia, they're going to have to get up at 4:30 a.m. for your call.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like we're gonna just have to like you'll have to be the lowest on that priority, unfortunately.
Cannot do it all right now. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes plenty of sense. All right. I just wanted to ask you some questions a little bit about how you can work so little but still have such a thriving business.
Mm.
And you've done that from the start. And obviously for different seasons, it would look different. Like I know now you have a team that can help you, but you wouldn't have had that at the start, I'm assuming. And so how have you maintained only working those short amount of hours practically?
So I read the 4 Hour Work Week back in like 2007, whenever it was released, and I just took it really literally. And so when he was like, we talked about Pareto's concept of like 20% of your tasks create 80% of your revenue. I was like, right, okay, that's what happens. And so I just got better and better at working out what are the tasks that actually create the income and what are just the nice to haves. Like the only way I've been able to bring in like $14 million in revenue in 10 hours a week is because there's a really long to-do list behind me that has not been completed. I prioritize the stuff that is mission critical to revenue creating and to fulfilling the promises to our existing customers. Those are like sacrosanct. Like I'm not going to not do the thing I've promised, but I'm not going to do busy work. Like there's literally thousands of things that I could be doing to grow my business, and I'm not going to because they're not going to give me maximum impact for minimum effort. And also I just can't be bothered. So I have a really big no list of things that I don't do. And I have a lot of structure around what are the critical things. Like if you only had 2 hours a week to work, like what would be the most critical things for you in your business?
Mm. It's so hard to know, like, because yeah, as you say, like it'd be client delivery on things that you've promised, and then I guess the other side is marketing.
Mm,
And it's so hard to work out. Like I totally understand of like working out which, like you can't market everywhere. You can't do all the things. Like I really want to do Pinterest and I really want to do this and I really want to do that, but I can't do them all. I just got to choose the ones and commit to them.
mm.
And so it's
Look
just
at
like,
your,
which
you just
one?
need to look at your statistics. Like
Yeah,
what currently gives you the 80% of revenue? What
yeah,
currently gives you 80% of traffic and sales?
yeah. And like that's where like I'm so glad I started YouTube, because YouTube's probably the thing that's like I didn't have that a year and a half ago, but that's been slowly growing as my biggest kind of grabbing in there. And it's now I'm like, how much time do I then put into Instagram anymore? Because but that's still, I often find people like it's still a funnel, like people might find me on Instagram on YouTube, then they might follow me on Instagram, get to know me, then do the thing. Or do they
Mm,
just go straight through the funnel, which some of them do, and they just buy from me? I'm like, okay, cool, that was nice and easy. But then like obviously YouTube takes hours and hours each week, but also everything else does. And it's just about, yeah, working out which ones are
mm,
the right spot to focus on. Hey, yeah,
mm. Yeah, the data tells you.
yeah. Which is like my lowest point. Like I've been getting a lot better at doing all the Google Analytics and all of the things lately, but it's still it's not the sexy side of business, but it is the most, it's one of the, it gives a lot of value if you actually look at it and know where, like, oh, that podcast isn't working, let's get rid of it, or the
Mhm.
social media isn't working, let's get rid of it. Like just being really ruthless with that because your time is precious, I guess.
Yeah. And making sure that when you're looking at like your success statistics, it's not just about the views or the subscribers and things like that. It's actually, no, where are your actual sales coming from? Like, I remember talking to one of my friends through this, and she was spending so much time on Instagram every day and trying to keep up with all the reels and the stories and all that kind of stuff. And I said, can you please have a look at where your sales are coming through? And she looked at her like sales for the last year, and zero had come from Instagram. 80% had come through her website
Yeah.
and through search engine optimization for specific people specifically looking for a certain thing. And she's like, oh, well, that's actually just saved me 15 hours a week
Yeah.
because I could spend that 15 hours on prioritizing more SEO and prioritizing more website stuff. And I would like so easily increase my revenue. Whereas I'm just like chasing this hamster wheel of nothingness, literal zero sales from Instagram.
Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? And so what would you recommend for a business that hasn't had a ton of sales yet, and so they don't know where the right spot to invest their time is in yet? Is it just trying a few things?
Yeah, it's just the spaghetti approach. Just throw it all at the wall, see
Yeah.
what sticks, and eventually enough data will emerge in
Yeah.
order for you to find the results. And it does change over time as well, and trends and things like that. And that's okay. It's just a constant experimentation process.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, you're right. It does change and evolve, and your audience sometimes changes and evolves as well. And all
Mhm.
the things keeps you on your toes, business does.
It does. It's such a great personal growth, like
Yeah.
discovery journey. You have to keep on looking inside yourself.
Yeah, that's so, so true. All right, to finish up, I would love to ask you, what are some of like you don't have to share if you don't want to, but like your future goals for the business, and how do you plan to achieve them while continuing like you have been to stick to your values, to stick to all of those things?
For me, like the goal is for this to just to continue feeling like just such a joyful expression of myself, to still just feel like a dream job every day, to continue to feel creatively inspired and on soul purpose, and see what turns up next. I really love getting excited by something new and learning everything all about it, and then like turning that into a teaching or a program or a book of some kind. So I'm always like excited for what wants to emerge next. I don't really have like, I'm not a massive planner in terms of like going, well, I'm going to talk about this for the next however long. It's more like just divine inspiration of like what wants to come through next. I'll just run with it and then it'll be so fun.
Yeah, I find it kind of fun that way of just like, oh, this is the next thing that I'm feeling. This is fun. Let's just chase that.
Mm.
That's so exciting. Okay, so how can we thank you for like all of that juicy information? How can we get to know you? How can we connect with you? How can we work with you in the future if any listeners are feeling so inspired?
So my website's always the best place to start, leoniedawson.com. And I have a free page on my website as well. And it's just a whole bunch of free stuff that I've made over the years to help you with growing your business and living a gorgeous life as well, from meditations to coloring books to handbooks and worksheets and all the good fun. And you can find me on all the socials if you want to, but I think the website's the best plan. I also have a newsletter that goes out every single week, and people always say it's the only one that they'll read because it's usually full of TMI and ridiculous jokes, and um, it's really personal in a way that a lot of business kind of marketing newsletters aren't. So that's that's all the good places, I think. Oh, and I do have a podcast if you like podcasts. It's called Leonie Dawson Refuses to Be Categorized because I talk about everything on there. So enjoy that.
That's such a great name. Amazing. I'll pop the links for those things in the show notes for anyone listening so you want to do some clicky clicking. Well, thank you for joining us. I so appreciate your time and your insight there. It's been, yeah, you've given some good little insights around especially memberships and working. Those are really some good nuggets there. So thank you very much for your time.
Oh, Jacqui, thank you. And thank you for the inspo. Like, I really need to up level my environment. I was just talking to my coach, and she was like, Leonie, you need to like upgrade your environs. And I was like, what? Just like laying in bed, rotting in bed while I'm on calls isn't good enough. But now I see your space and I'm like, oh, Jacqui has it all worked out.
It's so fun. As long as set my little lights, just give it like these little lights that I have for my little pretty lights in the background, take
Mhm.
me about 20 clicks to get to work. Other than that, everything's good.
It's solid. It's solid. It's giving lilac. It's divine. I'm actually so inspired. So please continue being the icon that you are in this area.
I'm going to just stalk your stuff and be like, oh, she's changed it. She's upgraded. That's exciting.
Yes, finally.
I love it. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jacqui.
So thank you for joining Leonie and I. I hope you loved that episode as much as I did. And you got some really incredible little nuggets for you to take away for your business or your membership or whatever you're working on at the moment. If you're not already, make sure you have subscribed to the podcast and the YouTube, and we will see you next week for another episode. Bye.